Today's episode is not just another episode. It is something truly special. Because after watching this, after really listening to it, your way of looking at the world will completely change. Let's start with a very unsettling question. Does the knowledge of numbers, numerology, actually exist? Do numbers play any hidden role in the system of this world, or even in the system of the entire universe? And what exactly is this knowledge of numbers anyway? At first glance, it might seem like a dry, lifeless subject. Numbers, digits, counting. It all sounds so ordinary, so technical. But I promise you this, by the end of this video, God willing, you will feel as if the door to an entirely new world has opened right before your eyes. But before I take you into that world, I need to first tell you about a very, very special person. Perhaps you've heard this sentence somewhere before. If you knew the power of 3, 6, and 9, then you would understand that you hold the key to the secrets of the universe. This sentence wasn't random. It was actually spoken by Nikola Tesla. And who was Nikola Tesla? It is said about Tesla that he was the man who invented the 20th century. The electricity flowing through your homes and shops today, Tesla's gift. The wireless charging inside your mobile phones today, Tesla's technology. At one time, there were 26 countries in the world where more than 300 inventions were credited to Tesla. But the actual number of his creations? Far, far greater than that. Many of his inventions never bore his name. And why was that? Because whenever Tesla had a new formula or an idea in his mind, he would jot it down quickly on slips of paper and leave them lying somewhere. Later, one of his assistants would pick up that slip, and by stealing Tesla's designs, would make them famous under his own name. It is said that Marconi himself stole 3 of Tesla's designs to make his radio. And upon hearing of that theft, Tesla remarked, "It is astonishing. Do their own brains give them no ideas?" And there is no doubt, in the field of energy, Tesla's research was truly extraordinary. But the reason I'm telling you about Tesla's genius right now is something deeper. I just told you that Tesla's real number of inventions was far more than 300. This stylish, multilingual scientist of New York was working on technology far ahead of its time. And we know this because of a letter he wrote. On November 29th, 1934, Tesla wrote a letter to one of his friends. In it, he said, "I have discovered some new things. And one of these discoveries is such that no one could ever put a price on it." At that time, warplanes had thrown the world into fear. People living in London and Paris were constantly under the terror of aerial bombings. But the discovery Tesla spoke about, he said, would give absolute protection against those dangers. He explained that he had tested this discovery on a very small scale, but the technology had left him astonished. It was like a superweapon, a technology that could completely end wars from this world. Once, Tesla also told his friends that after 50 years of relentless effort, he was now very, very close to discovering an entirely new form of energy, an energy that would overturn even Einstein's physics. But were these just wild claims? No. Tesla was an extremely intelligent and hard-working man. Once, he even worked in his laboratory continuously for 84 hours straight. Now, let me tell you something very interesting. When Tesla told his friend about that discovery, which could never have a price, that time was the era of the Great Depression. That is why I gave you the exact date of the letter, 1934. The governments of the world were bankrupt. No country had money for research and development. And that is why no one paid serious attention to Tesla's words then. But later, the American government contacted Tesla, asking him to reveal the technology he had mentioned to his friend. Tesla refused to hand over his project, saying they would misuse it. And from that time until Tesla's death, FBI agents were after him. His room was even broken into. But Tesla used to say, "Whenever the thieves come, they will find nothing, because every design exists only in my mind." The last 10 years of his life, Tesla spent in a room of the New Yorker hotel. And after his death, the FBI immediately sealed his room, taking possession of all his papers and notebooks. According to a report, those who saw his notebooks said, it seemed that Tesla had come very, very close to unlocking the secrets of energy. Now think about this. Such a high-profile scientist, a man who gave this world more than 300 inventions, and God knows how many inventions he took with him to the grave. Why would he say this? That if you understood the power of 3, 6, and 9, then know that you have gained the key to the secrets of the universe. To understand this mystery, I studied Tesla's personal life, because decoding Tesla's research work was something even the FBI at that time could not do. Therefore, I decided to focus on Tesla's personal habits, thinking maybe, just maybe, I could find some lead. And I was right. I realized that Tesla used to do everything in sets of 3. Before entering his room, he would walk 3 rounds around his hotel. Whenever he went swimming, he would always do 33 laps, a multiple of 3. And if, in between, he forgot his counting, he would start swimming all over again, saying, "I cannot leave it like this." With his meal, he always kept 18 napkins. Again, a multiple of 3, 6, and 9. Even in the New Yorker hotel, his room number was 3327, which, when divided by 9, gives 3, 6, and 9. Exactly those numbers in which, according to Tesla, lies the key to unlocking the secrets of this universe. And he also used to say that the day science begins to understand the non-physical world, it will progress within just 10 years more than it has advanced from its birth until now. What is there in these numbers? What I am about to tell you, you must listen to it with great attention. In Surah Qamar, Allah Almighty says, "We created everything with a measure." And for this word measure, the Arabic term used here is qadra. Then again, in Surah Al-Hijr, Allah repeats the same principle. We sent down everything according to a fixed measure. And once again, the very same word is used, qadra. But what exactly is this qadra? Come now to Surah Saba, where Allah Almighty commanded Prophet David, peace be upon him, "O Dawood, make armors, full-body armors, and see that there is qadra between their joints." Qadra. It means right proportions. It means mathematical accuracy. It means perfect numbers. Allah Almighty created everything with a perfect qadra, a numerical balance, a hidden mathematics, a flawless proportion that runs through all of creation. And now, I am about to bring these perfect numbers before your very eyes. Because in this entire universe, numbers and mathematical patterns can be seen everywhere. And one of the most striking of these patterns is called the binary system. What is the binary system? It is the system where a pattern begins to form, and then it keeps doubling itself. You can even see the system inside your own body, in the process of cell division, mitosis and meiosis. A single cell splits and becomes 2. Those 2 cells split and become 4. 4 become 8. 8 becomes 16. 16 become 32. And continuing like this, a complete living being comes into existence. This pattern is so evident in the universe that some scientists even call the binary system the blueprint of God. But this is just one number system. There is another, a number so mysterious that from Pythagoras to Leonardo da Vinci to Johannes Kepler, scientists and mathematicians across centuries spent thousands upon thousands of hours trying to unlock its secret. And that number is called the golden ratio, 1.618. It is a number that seems to appear everywhere, from the human body to the structures of the universe itself. Take the honeybee hive, for example. The number of female bees is 1.6418 times greater than the number of male bees. Or look here, the nautilus, a cephalopod mollusk. The chambers of its shell, each one is 1.6518 times larger than the previous one. Or take the sunflower. Its seeds are arranged in cross-spiral form, and the ratio of each row to the next is, once again, 1.618. The spiral rings of pine cones, they too grow in the ratio of 1.618. Even in the human body, this golden ratio is everywhere, 1.618. The ratio between your height and your lower torso, 1.618. The ratio from your arm to your hand and from your elbow to your hand, 1.618. The ratio from hip to floor and from knee to floor, 1.618. Even your toes, the natural deviations of your spine and the joints of your fingers, all are growing in alignment with this ratio. And here's something fascinating. Even cosmetic surgeons, yes, the ones who reconstruct the human body to make it more beautiful, they use this very same golden ratio, 1.618. Because this proportion, this balance, is considered the most beautiful proportion in the universe. In the 17th century, Charles Bonnet observed that even the leaves of some trees were growing according to this golden ratio. Later, Adolf Ising observed that in the structures of animals, in their veins, even inside crystals, the ratio of 1.618 was present. Look closer, in the arms of a starfish, in snowflakes, in the splash rising from a single drop of water, in the branching of trees, in the spirals of Romanesco broccoli, in the florets of the angelica flower, where one large circle closes by joining many smaller circles. Everywhere you find a proportion, a balance, a ratio. In the seeds of the sunflower, in the yellow chamomile flower, in the curling horns of the bighorn goat, in the cross-sections of cabbage, in the shapes of seashells, in the spiraling arms of galaxies, even in the droplets splashing out from a muddy ball. The golden ratio can be seen everywhere in this universe. And then comes another pattern, the Fibonacci sequence, a sequence of numbers in which every next number is the sum of the two numbers before it. It begins like this: 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, and on and on and on. In the 12th century, an Italian mathematician named Leonardo Fibonacci made an astonishing observation. He noticed that in the natural environment, for example, out in the forests, the number of rabbits was always increasing according to a very special numerical rhythm. At first, there was 1. Then 1 plus 1 made 2. Then from 2 came 3. Then from 3 came 5. And after many years of watching and calculating, Fibonacci presented this numerical rhythm to the world, a rhythm we now call the Fibonacci sequence. And can you guess? What is the ratio between every two numbers in the Fibonacci sequence? The golden ratio, 1.618. If the golden ratio itself amazes you, then prepare to be astonished beyond it, because there is another kind of sequence, a sequence of numbers called vortices and meanders. This sequence appears in the storms that form out of clouds. It shows itself in the way a snake's body curves as it crawls. Inside that very curvature, these numbers are visible. It appears in the winding of rivers. It hides in the waves of water formed by the winds. Inside those waves, these numbers are concealed. Even the winds that sculpt dunes in the desert, hidden within those dunes are these same numbers. Take, for example, the region of Sistan in Afghanistan. The ripples formed there are not random at all. They form a perfect sequence of numbers. And then there are the tessellation sequences, patterns formed from numbers that repeat again and again. From the hides of sheep to the hives of honeybees, these tessellations can be seen. In fact, this very tessellation is also visible in Islamic art. And there, it serves two purposes. First, it shows that reality is hidden in many layers of perfection. And second, it declares that these tessellation patterns are infinite. That is, you can repeat these patterns as many times as you like, fitting them together endlessly. They have no limit. And through these patterns, message is given, the message of God's infinite power. These mathematical patterns of numbers can even be seen in the cracks that form in the earth. For example, when cracks form in soft ground, they always appear at 120-degree angles, like in the damp clay of Sicily or in the Giant's Causeway of Ireland, where these cracks have created strange and beautiful six-sided hexagonal pillars. And when cracks form in hard ground, the numerical formations are entirely different, but still perfect. For example, in the Rann of Kutch, on the border of Pakistan and India, the cracks that form appear at perfect 90-degree angles. Or in Australia's Tasman Peninsula, the rock formations stand upright at 90-degree angles. In everything in this universe, you will see numbers. You will see mathematical sequences. Even in the skins of animals, for example. In the patterns on the wings of the dress beauty butterfly, numbers are hidden. In the stripes on a zebra's body, in the lines on the body of a royal angelfish, in the numerical sequences on the body of the giant pufferfish, or in the patterns on the body of the helmeted guinea fowl. In all of these, perfect numbers are hidden. Ratios are hidden. In the tiger bush of Niger, in the way trees and plants grow, they grow according to a special numerical sequence. All of them follow these same number patterns. Everything in this universe, in everything, you will see numbers. Just like the golden ratio, there is another number, a number that, like the golden ratio, keeps appearing in physics again and again. That number is 137. For example, the electromagnetic force, the strength with which it acts on tiny particles, its value always comes out as 137. And this is why it is also called the fine structure constant. Because for the last 55 years, different scientists have conducted experiment after experiment on different materials in different conditions, and this value has always come out to be 137. In fact, Wolfgang Paul, a German physicist who received the Nobel Prize in 1989, even said, "After death, my first question to God will be, what was the secret behind 137? And Carl Friedrich Gauss, the German mathematician, after whom so many algorithms are named today, once said, "In everything God has created, you will find numbers." Now do you understand what card means? Now do you grasp the meaning of that verse in Surah Al-Qamar, that we created everything in perfect proportion? Every single thing in this universe carries within it mathematical secrets, numerical codes, and the study of these secrets of the universe is called Ilm al-Adad, the science of numbers. From ancient times, human beings recognize this knowledge. From ancient times, man noticed this perfection of numbers, and that is why he began to regard this knowledge as sacred. And now, I am going to take you into an ancient world. Thousands of years ago, humans already knew that in this universe, there exists the knowledge of numbers. And the fact that this knowledge exists on such a grand scale cannot possibly be a coincidence. It can only mean one thing, that behind such perfect mathematics, there must exist a God somewhere. Thus, from the merging of science and religion came a new branch of study, a branch known as arithmancy, or numerology, ilm al-adat. And the history of numerology goes back thousands of years. Just now, I explained to you through modern science how numerology can be seen everywhere in this universe. Before that, I told you about Tesla, how he considered 3, 6, and 9 to be the key to unlocking the secrets of the cosmos. But if we go even further back, 1,000 years ago, to the time when Vikings ruled Europe, the Vikings, seafaring raiders of Germanic origin who came out of Sweden, Norway, and Denmark. These were the very people among whom an Arab traveler named Ahmad ibn Fadlan once lived. And the accounts he gave of them, fascinating, vivid accounts, are some of my favorite to share. Ahmad ibn Fadlan writes, "These people are tall, like date palms. They have golden hair and tough skin. Every man is tattooed from his face down to his neck, and each one carries either an axe, a knife, or a sword. Physically, they were a perfect people, and in battle, they had no equal." To understand these Vikings better, in 1986, Sweden's Uppsala University began a program called the Rundata Project. And I'm telling you all these details for a very special reason, because they're going to be very useful later. So listen carefully. During the Rundata Project, researchers collected ancient symbols from across Scandinavia, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, and Finland, symbols carved into stones by ancient Germanic peoples, such as the Vikings. These symbols were a kind of Germanic alphabet, called runes, ancient runes. Now, from this Rundal project, there is one catalog entry, the U357. It is a stone inscribed with a magical incantation in the language of the ancient runes. The inscription describes a ritual involving the sacrifice of 9 goats and 9 horses. And it says that each sacrifice, whether a goat or a horse, would go into one of the 9 worlds that sprang from their sacred tree, Yggdrasil. What does this information tell you? It tells you that the number 9 was sacred to the Vikings and these ancient Germanic peoples. Their god Odin, whose name you've surely heard, the same Odin who ruled over Asgard, hung himself upside down from the branches of Yggdrasil for 9 days. And according to Norse mythology, around the tree Yggdrasil exist the 9 worlds. Did you notice something? How the real-life science of numbers, which is seen everywhere in this universe, quietly turned into something sacred, slipped into people's lives, and became part of their beliefs without us even realizing it. Let's leave the Vikings here. And now come with me even further back in time, around 2,800 years ago, to the land of Iraq. An ancient inscription, carved into stone almost 2,800 years ago, tells us about an Assyrian king, Sargon II. It records that he built a massive wall around the city of Khorsabad, and that wall measured exactly 16,283 cubits long, which equals about 7 kilometers in today's measurement. But why that exact length? Because 16,283 was the numerical value hidden inside his name, Sargon. Do you see? Even almost 3,000 years ago, numerology was already being regarded as a sacred science. And if you look around the world today, you'll still find its traces. For example, in Hindu mandalas, Look closely at their design, built entirely on circles and squares, with each section based on specific numbers. Or take the Forbidden City of China, a palace so sacred that, once upon a time, ordinary people couldn't even dream of stepping inside, because it was the residence of the Chinese emperor. That entire Forbidden City was constructed according to sacred numbers. Do you remember how I told you about the golden ratio? Now look at this, perhaps the most famous symbol of this century, the pointed star. Every segment of this star has a ratio with its neighboring segment of exactly 1.618. And can you guess where you've seen this star before? For the past 3,000 years, this star, known as the Star of David, has been the most important symbol of Judaism. It is not just a religious emblem, but the very identity of the Jewish people. And its origin? It is rooted deep in their thousands of years old numerological tradition. Numerology is one of the world's oldest and most complex sciences. It is the science that reflects how Allah, the Lord of all creation, governs the universe itself. And that is why, in the minds of some people, a dangerous thought began to creep in. If we can master numerology, then perhaps we can also control the systems of this world. This was the beginning of a darker pursuit, the quest for sinister powers through numerology. Powers by which you could bring things, events, even people, under your control. This is numerology in its occult form, the form taught in books like Shams al-Ma'arif, the form that people like Hashidum Ashiknas tried to use. But here's the truth. Numerology is an extremely complex subject, one of the most intricate sciences in the world, and that is why, if you follow it carelessly, you may not even realize the moment when your journey of seeking the secrets of the universe turns into a hunger to control it. When your exploration of science quietly slips into the realms of magic. It's like that hadith recorded in Al-Mustadrak lil-Hakim, in which the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "Recognizing shirk, polytheism, is as difficult as spotting a black ant crawling on a black stone in the darkness of night." Now, do you see its practical meaning? How, through numerology, a person can move from recognizing Allah toward falling into the trap of craving power. And that is why I believe numerology is among those hidden sciences, those that are considered occult knowledge, knowledge where the boundaries are blurred, ambiguous, uncertain. You don't realize when you've left spirituality and stepped into darkness. You don't realize when numerology has turned you into someone consumed by the hunger for power. Yet, through numbers, some people have also made predictions. Predictions that may seem innocent, but which turn out to be surprisingly accurate. And I want to share with you one particularly fascinating prediction. In England, there stands a building called Westminster Abbey. Perhaps you've already heard of it, because this building is one of the most important and one of the oldest in England. Inside Westminster, 40 kings and queens of England had been crowned. In its sacred halls, 18 kings and queens are buried. And within these same walls, at least 16 royal weddings have taken place. Hidden inside Westminster Abbey, there is a small, easily overlooked plaque. On it is a name, Edmund Halley. The plaque itself is shaped like a comet, and the story behind it is as fascinating as the man whose name it bears. Edmund Halley lived in the 17th century. He was not only an English astronomer, but also a mathematician. And remember, the 17th century was a time when the Church of England held immense power over the minds of the people. And from here begins a very interesting story. In 1665, the worst plague broke out in London, the dreaded bubonic plague. More than 100,000 people died, which was 20% of London's population at the time. Then, the very next year, 1666, a comet appeared in the sky over London. The church seized the moment. They declared this comet to be a sign of God's anger and began spreading fear among the people. They profited from it. They collected offerings, and they fulfilled their own hidden agendas. But Edmund Halley, he decided to uncover the real secret hidden in this comet. He began a relentless search for ancient documents. He pored over every record where a comet had ever been mentioned. And slowly, Halley began to notice a pattern. This comet wasn't only seen in 1666, it had also appeared in 1607. Before that, in 1531, and even earlier, in 1456. Recognizing the sequence of these numbers, Edmund Halley made a bold prediction. To you corrupt priest who rob the people, mark my words, this star will appear again in 1758. And that is exactly what happened. Halley himself had already died in 1748, but the comet, which appears once every 75 years, returned in 1758, just as Edmund Halley had predicted, by recognizing the sequence of numbers. With this prediction, Halley defeated the priests at their own game, the game of making prophecies. And today, we know this comet by his name, Halley's Comet, a very beautiful star that appears once every 75 years. It was last seen in 1986. My mother once told me that before I was born, she herself had seen this star with her own eyes. But now, it will appear again in 2061. By then, I may no longer even be alive. But remember, not every prediction made through numbers was as innocent as Edmund Halley's. Using numerology, entire occult philosophies were built. And one of those philosophies, you must surely have heard of it, is called Kabbalah. Do you remember, just a little while ago, I told you about the Vikings and the ancient runes, and I told you there was a very special reason why I was explaining those things in such detail? That's because the things I am about to tell you next are going to astonish you. But today's episode was already packed with information. And before I go on to tell you about the deeper and hidden aspects of numerology, I want you to fully absorb what you've learned so far. Because from here onward, you are about to hear something truly shocking. But all of that, God willing, will be in the next episode. And yes, brothers and sisters, subscribe to Beyond the Known and step with us into the mysteries that lie just beyond the veil of reality.